speech. You know, you can be distracted by this really good looking man. You know, when I came to AREAA, God, it was over 10 years ago, and Jim Park actually came to my chapter to give a speech. I was mesmerized because when I grew up, I never saw anyone that of Asian descent could look like a leading man and have the charisma to carry the room. And I immediately wanted to be part of this great organization. So I have a certain comfort level knowing that he's here next to me right now.
I can get my for you, man.
Sorry, Jim, I had to do it. You know, it seems like yesterday when I was installed, but as you can tell from the extra gray hair on my head, it has been a full year. You know, I shared my story of my parents and the immediate home ownership for them and what it meant for our family. But I also shared the story about my grandparents going to the Japanese internment camp. And the reason why it was such an important story for me is because the struggles they went through, you know, and it's unfortunate, but in times of stress and things, sometimes we lose our personal rights when you don't have anyone advocating for you. And that's why the work of AREAA is so very important, because we're advocating for the Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. So the work that we're doing is very, very important. You know, 3 years ago when my father passed, you know, he was really my North Star. And when your North Star passes, it's very hard. But it was only my AREAA family that kept on checking up on me that really helped pull me through. So I really want to thank you, my AREAA family, for doing that for me. I don't want my legacy to be that I cheered up more than Vicky Solano. You know, it's so important that we learn from the mistakes of the past. And that was one of the reasons why I brought up the Japanese internment. But you know, when I went to all the various chapters and I got to hear the chapter leaders really telling their individual stories that really brought them to leadership, I realized although I do have maybe a unique story, it's really the collective stories of all our chapter presidents and our leaders that make AREAA special. You know, John Wong has said that the president stands on the shoulders of the past presidents, and nothing could be more true than that, because they were always there for me and took my call when I needed advice. One of the things I'm very proud of is, you know, I happened to be at the valet stand and someone had come up to me from another organization and said, you know, AREAA is very different, because I've never felt so included and part of an immediate family than coming to an AREAA convention. So I really want to thank all of you for always being so welcoming as AREAA. That's something I think we do that's very special. You know, we often eat family style. We all bring a dish to the table, and we often just share it with anyone that wants to come to that table. And, you know, we actually make up 50 different cultures as part of the AAA NHBI community. But somehow, some way, it seems that a lot of times we're getting lumped together. You know, there's a narrative out there that, you know, we're crazy rich Asians. But then also, the AAA NHBI community actually has one of the highest loan denial rates because of thin credit files and because we're 1099 employees. So what is the truth? Well, some people would say it's tricky, tricky, tricky. reps that gave us a 7. You know, I knew I was in trouble when I went down on one knee. You know, like last time I went down on one knee for a woman, it didn't work out so well. You know, so I'll be inside. You know, we are in a period of continued hate and discrimination, unfortunately, because we're targeted, you know, during the pandemic, that we were somehow responsible for it. And we saw a tremendous amount of hate and actually violence come to our community. You know, so it's so very important, and I appreciate the support of the other organizations that have come together to help us support, you know, stopping Asian hate. So if you haven't already, you know, there's asianhate.org. You can look it up, you can donate and help with the cause, and we would definitely would appreciate that. You know, the discrimination sometimes could also be implicit. Yes. Sometimes through written word, some through legal documents, but also through some state bills that have come across. And I'm so very proud of our Texas chapters and Georgia chapters that was able to successfully fight off the bills. And we're going to need the help of our Florida chapters to overturn SB 264. You know, during the year, a president sometimes has to pivot from what they originally wanted to do. You know, a lot of it was about representation. I'm a commercial guy, so I also wanted to have a focus on commercial. But one of the things I realized is that our country is hurting because we simply don't have enough affordable homes for everyone. And when you don't have enough supply, what happens is that dream of home ownership gets delayed or sometimes never fulfilled because there simply isn't enough affordability to go on. And when we think of our younger generation and we're trying to build a better future for them, unless we actually do something to solve this crisis, that dream of home ownership and the American dream is threatened. So I'm so very proud that we were able to do the Affordable Housing Summit this year. And thank you for our staff for making that happen, because I know it was a big task. It was the first time we attempted something like that. But I think we did something just to start the conversation. And by starting that conversation, hopefully we'll actually get movement on some actions that actually help affordability. You know, Ryan from the Alliance, you know, we become friends and we're talking, and he was talking one time about having this imposter syndrome. And then when he was speaking about it, I actually realized that I was actually having that same thing before I became president. Because I was asking myself, will I be enough? Can I do this? And I actually faced some situations during Asian hate where I didn't really react the way I thought a president should. But Amy Kong thankfully called me, and she kind of changed my mindset on how I had different choices. That I didn't always have to just bow my head and just accept the circumstances just not to get beat up, but actually say, hey, I'm giving you my parking space because obviously this is more important to you than to me, but I just wanted to know that I did get there first and I'm making this choice.
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir. You know, it was ironic. When I was actually running to be president, one of my close friends actually said to me, hey, whatever you do, don't be you. You know, and I didn't take any offense to that because I knew what he was saying. I knew he was saying that the position requires more of you. You can't kind of just walk into the room quietly and take a seat in the back. You actually have to sit in the front and be ready to lead. And the reason I mention is, Chicago is my hometown. And life kind of teaches you some lessons. And, 3 weeks ago was my high school reunion. And, through classmates.com, they're always trying to get you to come out. But one of the things I noticed is no one remembered me. And in my college fraternity, we also had a reunion this past, and people did remember me because I was the only Asian. But one of the things they said is, hey, I don't really remember you, but I remember your sister. How's she doing? By the way, my sister was the homecoming queen for Western Illinois University. And the reason why I'm saying that is because sometimes you really have to extend yourself to be a leader. And sometimes that means you have to tell the community that you have to be the hammer instead of the nail. Sometimes you have to tell the leaders in charge that we'll vote you out. And if you don't, we're going to swing the hammer. And sometimes you actually have to stand on a soapbox, perhaps shorter, so just to be seen so you can speak out and deliver that message so you can be heard. And also sometimes it's creating an alter ego to give yourself the strength to do what you didn't think was possible. And that's why DJ Kurt was born. For anyone aspiring to be a national office leader, I strongly encourage you to do so because what you get in return is 100 times more than what you give. Our mission of changing lives through real estate, anyone who's watched that 20-year anniversary video got to see firsthand the impact that AREAA has made on the AA and NHPI community. I also want to say that AREAA changes lives through leadership, and I'm an example of that. Because you have to make a promise, you have to reach out to people, and you have to put others people's first. You have to put the community first, because you have to make that dream of home ownership a dream that comes true for them. I want to take this time to thank all my committee chairs that worked so fiercely hard, my board appointees, our 2023 chapter presidents, and of course, Coca 12 and the national office who supported all the initiatives I had this year and made that dream a reality for me. Lastly, I'd like to say, sorry. It has been my biggest honor in my life to be your 2023 National President. Thank you so much for this privilege.